Oh, good morning, wakey, happy Monday. Yeah, not skating today, letting the body rest, recover. 9 hours of rock solid sleep. Oh, fuck, it felt so good. But yeah, I got to start this rest and recovery for tomorrow's training. I need to be feeling as good as I can tomorrow. Last week I didn't quite feel as optimal as I should have. I still went in there and killed it, but you know, it takes a lot of mental effort to do that, and I'd like to go in there and just use muscular effort and turn my brain off. But yeah, you know, when you can't do that, just go for old backup, push and pull. So yeah, I'm gonna get off here, go straight to the bathtub, soak my shit, get thawed out. Not trying to exert myself today. Rest and recovery. I hope you had an incredible weekend. Hope you got some well-needed rest for your planned week. But yeah, let's get off here and do the shit. You know, another Monday. Let's do it together. Good morning, Mr. Sun. Yeah, beautiful day already. Look at that. That right there is enriched program sleep. Yeah, get that. All right, walking around, feeling okay. Feeling pretty fucking strong. Yeah, how you feeling? Pretty good? Feeling strong? Oh yeah. But we gotta keep it chill. Get this body prepped for tomorrow, so. Let's go do a little skate pipe art and get in that bathtub. Yeah.
Jesus Christ! Oh, why are you doing that? Why are you doing this?
Don't give me any bullshit, okay? Pick up the trash and get out of here.
I'm gonna kick his ass.
I'm Andrew Huberman, and I'm a professor of neurobiology and ophthalmology at Stanford School of Medicine. Today we are discussing cannabis, also referred to as marijuana. Cannabis includes many different compounds that have profound impact on the brain and body. So while many of you have probably heard of THC, there are also compounds in cannabis such as CBD, and of course there are different types or strains of cannabis, including sativa strains and indica strains and hybrid strains. And believe it or not, nowadays there is also an entire literature, meaning a scientific and medicinal literature about type 1, type 2, and type 3 strains. I'll explain what all of that is and how they work. I'll talk about some of the medicinal applications of different strains of cannabis and combinations of cannabis strains, as well as some of the potential health hazards of cannabis use. I want to emphasize that any discussion about cannabis has to be framed within the context that the legality of cannabis varies tremendously depending on where you are in the world. Those chemicals, such as acetylcholine, that bind the nicotinic receptor in your brain and body, create an enhanced sense of focus, etc., etc. But nicotine from tobacco binds that same receptor, but with much greater affinity, and therefore also creates a state of focus, but a much greater one than we can achieve without nicotine. But just like with nicotine, there are substances in the outside world. In this case, cannabis contains these substances, so things like THC and like CBD, that when ingested by smoking or vaping or by ingesting edibles, also will park in those same receptors, the cannabinoid receptors, and lead to biological effects. Now, it's a little bit misleading because we call them cannabinoid receptors as if they were there to bind cannabis, or just like we call the nicotine receptors nicotinic receptors, it makes it seem as if they were there in order to bind nicotine from tobacco. But that's not the way our brains and bodies evolved. Our brains and bodies evolved for these receptors to make use of chemicals that exist within us, called, again, endogenous chemicals. And those endogenous chemicals lead to certain effects, as I mentioned before. The key thing here, if you haven't understood anything I've said up until now, please understand this. The key thing is that THC and CBD and the other components of cannabis bind to those receptors, those endogenous cannabinoid receptors, the ones that we naturally make, with much greater affinity and exert a vastly greater potency and effect on mood and perception, etc., than do our endogenous cannabinoids.
Ah, cheers to the healers. Yeah, fresh out of a hot Epsom salt soak. Body's feeling nice and fucking flowing and lubricated. And yeah, today's all about recovery. Taking it easy. Not straining the muscles any more than they've been strained. Man, my buddy just sent me some footage from Fort Myers down south. It is fucking gnarly. Like, the people that did make it out alive are super lucky. And my friend's brother is pulling a lot of dead bodies out of the rubble and rubbish. It's sad. You know, note to the future Floridians. When there's a hurricane coming that close to the edge of Florida, yeah, you're best to just run. Like, run as far away as you can. 2 links in the description, Element and Athletic Greens. I like to mix those two together. Make a micronutrient hydrating beverage. All right, let me go put some fuel in my body. I'm thinking about making I'm gonna make an egg sandwich with a Texas toast bun soaked in egg whites. Yummy, yummy.
My friend had like a digital camera or whatever, and we would film with that. I have clips on my photo bucket with that shit. I'm gonna find them shits. The team manager was, I think it was Brownie at the time. Y'all remember Brownie? Oh yeah. He worked for
Yeah, looks like a hamburger, but I know it. Yummy, fucking yummy. That's fucking good.
We made a bet.
Micronutrient protein smoothie. Thank you.
To say, this is not me saying don't ingest cannabis or THC or CBD. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, if you evaluate the potency, that is, in technical terms, it would be the affinity with which these compounds, THC and CBD and CBN, bind to these endogenous receptors, that would be like a howitzer gun, like a cannon going off, as compared to endogenous cannabinoid, whether or not it's EAE or 2AG, which is more like a cap gun level of activation, at least in this analogy. So now you have what, at least I would like to think, is a fairly complete understanding of the different varieties of cannabis, at least at a broad sweep, and the different biological effects that they can have, at least in terms of the major receptors and in retrograde signaling, et cetera, et cetera. Now let's take a step back into the real world and evaluate or think about what happens when somebody smokes cannabis or ingests cannabis by way of edible or a tincture or something of that sort. Cannabis is very fast to enter the bloodstream. In fact, within 30 seconds, it's going to enter the brain and permeate throughout the brain and body. That's very, very fast. You contrast that with something like alcohol or even nicotine, depending on how the nicotine is delivered, that is a very fast delivery of the psychoactive and biologically active compound, which in this case is THC and CBD and probably some other things as well. So within 30 seconds, it reaches the brain and bodily tissues. And within 30 to 60 minutes, it's going to reach its peak concentrations and have its peak biological effects. Those aren't always the same thing, but in the case of cannabis, again, here I'm using cannabis as a kind of umbrella term for THC and CBD, the effects are going to peak at about 30 to 60 minutes after bringing those compounds into the body in some way or another. And the effects tend to last anywhere from 3 to 4 hours, although there's some variation on that depending on individual metabolism, whether or not somebody is familiar with the compound, believe it or not, psychologically familiar, but also biologically familiar, or whether or not it's a first-time use or occasional use and so on. Perhaps most importantly, even if you didn't understand anything that I've said about the biology of these different strains and the receptors, please do understand that there is no way to predict what the effect of a given strain will be on an individual. There has been extensive exploration as to whether or not people who are so-called mellower or more anxious or any number of different personality dimensions will respond in one way or the other, but in fact, there is no way to tell. And so whether or not someone gets incredible anxiety relief, enhanced sense of mood and focus and well-being, pain relief, etc., or whether or not they have full-blown panic attacks, etc., is very hard to predict based on dosage information alone. Now, of course, we can create broad categories, and we're going to talk about studies that create broad categories of low dose, moderate dose, and high dose, frequent use and infrequent use. But unlike alcohol, unlike nicotine, we can't really point to specificity of X amount of alcohol, grams of alcohol per week, which is safe, or X amount of alcohol, which is not safe. And so I know a lot of people out there are wondering, how often can they smoke cannabis, or how often can they eat cannabis or THC or CBD in any number of its different forms and products safely? Well, we have to really define what safely means, and we have to really acknowledge that there's a pretty loose set of controls over what one is bringing into their brain and body as they ingest THC and CBD. But even under conditions in which it's very controlled, it's very hard to predict what those effects will be.
Okay, I'm gonna go get my stretch on. Woo! All right, gonna take a stretch break, finishing up the new Andrew Huberman podcast on cannabis. Pretty fucking awesome. It works good for some people and not so good for some people. For me, it works whenever I'm just stiff and tight and sore, I just smoke a little bit and, in about a minute, I feel relief. I don't feel the tension or tightness anymore. It just goes away. So as far as it making me more creative, I don't feel that way. I've been creative my whole entire life. That cannabis enhances my dedication of completion, no matter what it is. Like raking the yard the other day. It's like, okay, I can just rake this little bit and the yard's gonna look good. Or it's, I'm already here doing it, let's just do it all. And then I don't ever have to do it again until it's fucking nasty and shitty. So that's just my work ethic. But makes me move, keeps me moving. That's how I feel about it. And that's my life. So don't worry about it. Worry about yourself. Man, a friend of mine has cancer, and it sucks because I know the protocol of cancer. I watched my aunt go through it and die severely of it. And, you know, she went through it all, got chemo, lived another 10 years, and it just came back harder than ever. And she just didn't want to deal with it again. So it's one of those things that's just very wearingly on your body because it destroys everything. And one thing that I've learned about cancer, me having a sickness, autoimmune disease years ago, and I was told that, oh, you got some sort of cancer. It's eating your blood cells. First thing I did was, okay, well, I'm going to regenerate this shit myself and do it as fast as possible. And I regenerated all my blood cells in 6 weeks and eliminated all of it. And you know, from then that started my whole journey. You know, 2018. Yeah, I was dying. And rebuilt from then. Went from the ground zero back to 100. Yeah, 6 months ago I went to back to ground zero, and now I'm back at 111%. You know, I'm better than I was the last time I had to rebirth from death. You know, and the next time I got to do it, I'll even be better. You know, because I just know how things work by going through the experience and putting things in my body that are not going to help my immune system is something that I would never do, something that I will not do. I will rebuild my immune system. And you know, it sucks because I watched a lot of people fucking die over the years of this shit. You know, well, my doctor said this, my doctor said that. Your doctor doesn't feel anything that you feel, you know? Your doctor makes money off you. Cancer and all those other profound diseases are just money makers, you know? Nobody really wants to save your life. They just want your money. So you want to save your own life, you gotta you gotta get away from all that fucking bullshit. Figure it out for yourself and do the work. And I have links in my description that start you off there. I show you where I started my journey. Bitter Truth of Sugar. It's a great documentary. Fucking listen to it. You know, you beat alcohol, beat cancer, beat all of it, you know, just from that. But, you know, many people want to argue with what I say as well, but I don't really give a shit because I've already done the work, you know? And, yeah, my life matters. Me taking my life in my own hands is what matters. And that's why I'm here today. That's why I'm here sharing my knowledge and experience and information with all of you and myself again. Yeah, you know, you gotta tap in and tune in with yourself and clean that gut. That's it, you know, clean that gut and you clean the rest of your body. Clean that blood, you know. And when I was cleaning my blood, yeah, the doctors will say, oh, yeah, you can drink moderately, you can smoke, you can do everything moderately. No, you can't. You know, they're gonna kill you faster, you know, without nicotine. Because I was trying to regenerate my blood. I was using CBD. You know, that's what I was smoking for a whole year out of my Corn Cob Pipe. And it helped me get to the point to where I'm at right now, you know? And that's way above fucking death, okay? Yeah, I hate seeing people fucking suffer, you know? And do everything that you can without them trying to hold you back and limit your life, because that's what they're gonna do. But that's just me, you know, that's how I'm built. Yeah, yeah. So I'm gonna get ahead of my shit and start stretching my body, working my nervous system, and getting that blood going, you know? It's all part of it. Everything that I do is part of saving your own life. Saving your life if you fucking pay attention. So here we go. right, yeah, good stretch. Yeah, my legs are a little sore from skating, but it's a different kind of soreness. That shit'll be gone tomorrow. I'm probably gonna do a sunset walk tonight, and I'll walk it right out. But push-ups, you know, they felt easy, but I just limited them because I'm not trying to kill it. I'm just trying to move and get my blood flowing and get all my joints fucking pop back into place. But yeah, I feel good. I feel strong. Oh, yeah. All right, I'm gonna go chill for a bit, finish my Andrew Huberman, and then fuel. I'm gonna make a sweet potato protein pancake. Yummy. Get that fiber. Nice shit in the morning. Mm-hmm.
But when your dopamine levels are elevated, these all seem like great ideas and that maybe there are connections there, right? You're not accepting all of them as true and valid and interesting and combining them, but there's this idea that, you know, it's worth entertaining their possibility. It's really the dopamine pathway in this nucleus accumbens which is increased or not increased or even reduced
protein
sexual
sweet
arousal
potato
is really
pancake.
the litmus test by which
Some
one can figure
PB2.
that out. While we are on the topic of the effects of cannabis on sexual function and hormones like prolactin, been well demonstrated effects of cannabis for reducing pain, in particular in chemotherapy and in the context of reducing nausea in people suffering from cancer or chemotherapy. I think it's vital to understand that cannabis use through any delivery mechanism, smoking or vaping or edible or otherwise, is very, very concerning. In fact, dangerous to the developing brain, certainly for the fetal brain and for the baby brain, but also for the adolescent brain and for the teen and young adult brain, not just because of the effects that it can have in the immediate term, those slow creeping increases in anxiety and depression brought on by cannabis use, but also the time release, if you will, on the development of psychosis and other types of major psychiatric disorders later in life. I acknowledge we've covered a lot of ground today, and yet there's still far more ground that we could have covered and that we will indeed cover in future episodes.
All right. Just finished fueling my last meal. Just finished my Huberman podcast. And I'm going to go get me a little relief. Some pain management. Cheers to the healers. Whew, man. All right. Monday. Full recovery day. I'm going to just kick my feet up here for a little bit, chill, trim the fat off today's edit, and save it for the sunset walk. Yeah, I think me and Anya are going to do a sunset walk. Might throw it in here, might not. But if we don't, we'll see you tomorrow. Cobb Tuesday, training day. Cobb Tuesday. Zara Mearsham's got a new Halloween... They got a new Halloween pipe release, I believe, tomorrow. So, yeah, check their website, pick up that new Halloween cob, and grab one of my Dagner poker cobs, because they're limited. Yeah, we'll see you tomorrow.